Hello and welcome to another edition of the 20 podcast. I am Karl as your host. Unfortunately, Doug is off due to he had a bit of a running cough, so hopefully we'll see him after international break as well. He has a bit of a running cough, so he couldn't do much of his content as he can, including the 20. So, but we have got a guest on with us on tonight. We'll talk about the results during the past weekend as we are now into the international break. So, yes, we thought he's been doing some content with us this season. We've been showing his videos up of his match reviews after of his team, and also he's one of my co-hosts on the Championship Review as well. Let's say good evening to Michael Bowers. Michael, good evening to you. Finally got you on now on your day off, and yeah.
Yeah, it's quite weird, this, isn't it? It's usually when when me and you, well, when we're on the Championship Review together, when I'm doing it, I'm barely talking about my own team, but it's actually going to be quite nice to wax lyrical that Sunderland seem to be quite mint at football at the minute, which I'm not complaining about whatsoever. But no, good to have me on. Good to be on, rather. So yeah, how have you been doing?
Been not too bad actually. As I say, work has been selling quite well. Actually, I'm a little bit more. I'm
Good.
selling quite well. I think it's the right place at this now. I'm not gonna. So early days, but I think it's the right place, and I've been busy on my feet. So yeah, but I'm on shift on Friday, and then I'm off for the rest of the weekend. So I've got some time to relax and
That's
until
good, isn't it?
just
You always want to be like sort of moving around and doing things, don't you?
yeah, and my steps are increase. My steps counts has increased a lot actually. So that's a good thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
once you get used to it, it's second nature, isn't it? To be fair, I've not been too bad though. I think I've just not looked. Pardon me, I've just not long booked flight and hotels for my best mate's stag do because it's his wedding next July. So
Wow.
that's gonna be, so it just made me think. Oh yeah, this is life. Life's interesting now. We've booked it for we're going to, I think it's Dusseldorf in Germany for I think it's the first weekend of June. So it's
I
going to
find
be
it a
like
good place though. Dusseldorf is a good place. It's a
I've
good
never
place.
been. I barely go
So
abroad,
I
so this
spoke
is going to be
to
quite
I had
nice.
a couple of German friends, and when I was at uni, they told me Dusseldorf is a good place. So yeah,
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably just get where random Sunderland shows, be this hipster Sunderland fan, and see what happens. And hope, well, I was going to say hopefully celebrate getting into Europe. That's a long stretch, but we'll,
hey,
you know,
it's still a long way to go this season. So
no, it is absolutely. I mean, as long as we avoid relegation, it's a success. But there you go. But no, yeah, I'm sure we'll have a good time talking about the key games and talking points from the Premier League.
absolutely as well. Yeah, let's start with Sunday's game at the Etihad Stadium. Man City beat Liverpool 3-0. Goals from Erling Haaland. Also Nico Gonzalez and Jeremy Doku with a stunning curl as well goal as well in the 63rd minute as well. That was a huge win, Michael. Especially that was Pep's 1,000th game in management and also his 550th game as manager Man City. How huge that part of that win was for them.
Oh, it was huge. I mean, we'll get into Arsenal's result at Sunderland a bit later on, but with Arsenal dropping points, it was an opportunity for whoever would win out of Man City and Liverpool. And I mean, obviously, if it ended a draw, it would have been a missed opportunity for both. And as it turned out, it was a pretty big missed opportunity for Liverpool. But for Man City, I think it's a good way for Pep to celebrate. Was it his 1,000th game in management overall, and then 550th at Man City? So couldn't have gone much better, really. You beat swatting aside Liverpool, who you would. I think a lot of people would have expected the top three in whatever order at the start of the season to be Manchester City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. So I think for Man City to swat Liverpool aside at the Etihad was good. Bit of controversy in the fact that at 1-0 Van Dijk did put the ball in the back of the net, but it was disallowed. I think it was through Andy Robertson was judged to basically be infringing Donnarumma. So that obviously I'm sure we'll get Doug's thoughts on that, but the big thing for me is that with Man City, it was getting the 3 points, and now the gap is 4 points, isn't it, from
Yeah,
Manchester City to Arsenal? So I'm quite interested to see how that pans out over the season because they've already played each other once, having drawn 1-1 at the Emirates. I believe it was Martinelli who equalised for Arsenal very,
yeah.
very late on against City. Obviously, good for Haaland to get himself on the score sheet and good for the win to really be comfortable, I think, because it's been Man City have been kind of stop-start-ish this season for their standards, really. And I think, like with Liverpool, I suppose as well, but with City, I think we probably would have hoped to have seen a little bit more from them. But certainly from Man City's point of view, they were probably the closest thing to winners of the weekend.
Absolutely. Can you ask, Donnarumma coming in this summer, do you think he's going to be the difference maker for this title race for City if they pip either Arsenal or Liverpool to win the league this season? Is he going to be the difference maker in that team?
Maybe. I mean, obviously Edison's done really well for them in recent years, hasn't he? But obviously, of course, he's not getting any younger, is he? So I think where did he leave to in the summer?
He went to Galatasaray,
That's
went
right.
to Turkey. Yeah,
Okay, good to know. I wasn't making that up. I thought so. Yeah, I mean, Donnarumma's Donnarumma, isn't he? So I think, yeah, there's no reason why not. I mean, certainly if he ends up performing well and the rest of the team starts to get to grips again, for the standard that they usually are at, then he could be the difference maker. I mean, the big thing for them is really just to try and catch Arsenal first and then sort of keep them well within their sight. And again, there is a lot of time to go in the season yet. But I mean, I think if you're looking at, when Man City play Arsenal at the Etihad, then that could end up being a title decider. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I think that's in April when Man City play Arsenal at
yeah,
home. So if I'm right, and anyone in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm right, then how that could be a close title decider. Then it could be absolutely massive. So yes, I think Donnarumma absolutely could be the difference maker. I think we've got to remember that Man City, I think, will still be adjusting without the influence of Kevin De Bruyne as well, because he's been so influential for them over the last
yeah,
however many seasons. I think was it Napoli he went to.
yeah. Went to Napoli.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's injured now, so he's gonna be missed for the rest of the season. De
Oh,
Bruyne.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
fair
I'm just
enough.
looking at Donnarumma's stats. He has three clean sheets. He's only conceded 4 goals in 13 saves in 7 periods since he joined Man City.
Wow. Fair play to him. Yeah, I think there is every chance that he could be a big difference maker because obviously, again, with Edison, at how good he's been, he needed replacing, didn't he, in the long run? So, I don't think Man City, obviously, Man City, you've got the resources to get someone like Donnarumma, so they're not going to complain about it. I'd be interested to know how Arsenal fans feel after if they had to pick a winner from Man City or Liverpool, who they would rather have won, because both of them, in their own way, should be challenging them. But yeah, obviously, there's no doubt Arsenal would have preferred a draw from this game.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Do you know what? Let's get Doug's perspective on the
Flipping
result.
it round, aren't we? I'm live, and
Yeah,
he's sending his thoughts on video. Go on then.
absolutely.
Hello, everybody. How are we all doing? Thank you very much to Michael and Karl for doing this episode. As you can tell, I'm not in the episode. My voice is taking a bit of a battering, but I thought we'd just do a quick wee video. Just reacted to the Manchester City defeat. Manchester City 3, Liverpool 0. First things first, we didn't deserve anything out of that game. Let's just say that. We didn't deserve anything out of that game. I'll also say as well that City deserve the win. Definitely deserve the win. I'm not happy with the decision to disallow Van Dijk's goal. I'll come to that very, very shortly. But the penalty decision, absolutely 100% penalty for me. I think if you look at it again, I think it is I wouldn't say stonewall, but Mamardashvili's knee does catch Doku's foot, so I can understand why that was given. Good on Mamardashvili to save it. He can hold his head high. He can hold his head high for that game for sure. Then we always come to the Holland first goal. What's Kanati doing? Don't know. Robertson should do better with the cross. Stop the cross coming in from Nunez. But still a very good header from Holland. And it was the back of the net. Then comes the decision that is really infuriating me. If you're an opposition fan and that goal is ruled out against you or for you, then you'd be absolutely fuming. I don't see anything wrong with it. I just don't see anything wrong with it. Look, Robertson has done sort of a ducking motion. Donnarumma is not getting anywhere near that ball. He's not getting anywhere near that ball. So the fact that Michael Oliver has decided, oh yeah, I'm going to disallow this goal. Yeah, very, 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 very surprised by that. But would it have been a difference in the game? I don't think so. I still think Manchester City would have won that game anyway. But I'm not surprised about conspiracy theorists about Michael Oliver and Manchester City. But we'll leave that conversation for another day. Second goal, really poor from us. Nico Gonzalez gets time and space and goes in the back of the net. And then the third goal, Doku caps off a fantastic performance, get man of the match, and great goal, absolutely fantastic goal. But for us, yeah, that's not good. 5 defeats already this season. 5 defeats in 11 games is absolutely unacceptable. Not calling for the manager's head, but our next 5 games have to be maximum points. Forest at home, West Ham away. Sorry, Michael. Sunderland at home. Sorry, Karl. Leeds away, and Brighton at home. They have to be 15 points. Has to be 15 points for me. If not, then serious questions need to be asked, I would say. And it's not just that. Some of the players are not performing. Konate has been an absolute disaster this season. I wouldn't even be sad to see him go. If he wants to go, he can go, as far as I'm concerned. Maka's not been at it this season. Salah has been a shadow of the player, for sure. Our only real best player this season has been Dominic Szoboszlai. Has to be. But, yeah, as I said, these next games have to be 15 points maximum. Otherwise, on a shot, will find himself under massive, massive pressure. So it's going to be a really interesting time after the international break, and no excuses now. I know we've got Champions League games in between. I think we go into Milan, I think, as well. But these next 5 games in the Premier League have to be 15 points to stand any chance of getting back into this title race, which is looking really, really bleak at the moment. But yeah, we've been in tougher positions before, but yeah, it's feeling like it's really, really, really bad. And yeah, 15 defeats in 2025 is an absolute disgrace, and only 2 clean sheets in the last 13 games. It's not good enough. But guys, thank you very much for continuing to watch the 20 podcast with myself and Karl. Obviously, a big thank you to Karl and Michael for doing this episode. And I'll be back after, hopefully my voice is back very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doug, and especially it's very rare that roles have reversed, like you said, Michael, because you're the usual one who's doing it of your match review, but it's Doug's turn, and at some point it will be my turn at some point during the course of the season.
Yeah, it more than likely will be. It might be me and Doug end up doing an episode of this. We'll wait and see. Who knows? Maybe after Liverpool have played Sunderland, we never know. I think Karl. I think Doug has got a point. I think that from Liverpool's point of view, what was it? West Ham, Forest, Sunderland, Leeds, and I've forgotten who the last one was. Who they were who they had to play. But in that second, let me have a quick look. But
I think the last game they do have to play,
as in their next 5.
West Ham, Leeds. Yes, it was West Ham and us, and then the next game is Brighton. So yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think if he was playing us at the Stadium of Light, I'd be annoyed if Doug was saying that at Sunderland. But at Liverpool, I think he's got a fair point. I think at Anfield, they need to be beating teams like Sunderland if they're wanting to be getting themselves into the title race. And I think, but certainly, he is right. Like, these are the fixtures that they have to be delivering in, and obviously losing to, and the thing is they can end up playing really well when they want. I mean, they beat Arsenal at the start of the season, so they're clearly capable of really good results. But I think, losing to Man City, there's no disgrace in it, but obviously it just puts pressure on games coming up for Liverpool. But the thing I'm looking at from Liverpool point of view is that when I've watched them this season, their performances for the level that they should be at, they just don't convince me at all. They just look like I watched them against Bournemouth. I thought they were quite lucky to beat Bournemouth, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And look, take out the fact I think it's hilarious that they beat Newcastle in the way they did, but Newcastle with 10 men were outstanding and should have got something out of the game. So I think Liverpool have kind of coasted through a fair few games when they really shouldn't have done. So, but the thing is, I know their performances can be better than that with what they've got. So I don't know. But yeah, look, Doug is right. I mean, I think that to go on the run that they have done isn't acceptable. It is very poor. And I think what he said, it was like 5 defeats in 7. Yeah, for Liverpool, that is disgraceful.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgraceful. I think this is the most defeats they've ever had for over a decade as well. I think it goes back to, I think it goes back a little bit longer than to maybe back into the late 2000s for what I heard. So yeah, that record is quite atrocious as well. Really is. Let's move on into your team, Michael. What a draw was at the same. What a game at the same. Like Sunderland enjoyed 2-2 Arsenal with late equaliser from Brian Bobby. There was a point at the stoppage time. Dan Balla scored in the opener against his former side, and Saka equalised in the second half. And Trossard thought he had the winner in later on in the game. But giving your perspective, Michael, was what a draw it was for you guys to get against a title contender team like Arsenal at home.
Yeah, and the team that's been by some way the best in the division. Now, obviously, I'll get the caveat out of the way first. I think that we were helped by the fact that Havertz, Odegaard, Jesus, Martinelli, and Gyökeres were all missing from this game. Gyökeres, particularly, if he played this game, I think we probably get beat. I think Gyökeres is a fantastic striker. Not just for the fact he scores goals, but the fact his hold-up play in general is monstrous because it allows, when Arsenal have everyone fit, it'll allow like Saka, it'll allow Havertz, it'll allow Odegaard, whoever plays, Trossard, when the games he does play, he'll allow them to run into the channels and cause a lot of chaos for teams. And I think we were helped by that, but I'm not going to let that tip. But Sunderland were also without Habib Diarra, their record signing, and were without, who was the other one that we were missing? Omar Alderete at the back for this game. I think the game, obviously, bar the 15-20 minutes that I didn't see, because basically, long story short, guys, I was in Manchester with my family, and I went to the hockey club to put the Sunderland game, have them put the Sunderland game on. They put 10 minutes on, then they changed it to the bloody rugby, which I was not happy about. So I ended up having to look for another couple of different pubs before I finally found one that had the rest of the game on. So I missed about 20 minutes, but I did catch most of the game. So from what I did see, I think that we were out. First half, we were outstanding. First of all, I couldn't fault much of what we ended. Maybe the only hypercritical point is maybe Nodi Mukiele's shot could have gone in and we could have gone 2-0 up, but I'm not going to be too picky with that when it's Arsenal you're playing. But Sunderland were excellent. I thought we were excellent at containing Arsenal to, at best, like one good effort on goal, and even that went way over the bar. So it might have been from Zubi Mendy, but I can't remember. But generally we were brilliant. And I think that what was great is that Arsenal, we know how much quality they've got, even with the injuries that they have, and that they can often carve teams open sometimes at will. And I was very happy with the way that we just settled things down. We contained them. We didn't let them have any space. We pressed them at the right moments when we needed to. And then obviously Dan Ballard. I mean, what can I say about this guy? Like he has probably had the most sensational calendar year I can think of. And there was two jokes I saw online. One was, ever since the Coventry playoff games in the semi-finals, Dan Ballard seems to have been on a personal mission to become the best centre-back on the planet. And the second one was from Paddy Power. If an asteroid is heading for Earth, all we need to do is have Dan Ballard's head be on the end of it and he heads it away. This guy is freakishly good at the moment. And but it turns out he can score goals because he's a fantastic striker's finish when it's a bit long ball from Robin Roofs. It goes up towards, I think it was either Nordi Mukiele or Wilson Isidore.
Yeah.
But he heads back into the path of Ballard, who beats his man, gets away from him, angles his shot up, and then fires it past David Raya. And I can only imagine how much noise that would have erupted from at the stadium. And the atmosphere, I mean, in the pub I was in watching it, we had the music playing in the foreground. So I didn't really hear the sound of the game, but the atmosphere sounded raucous. It sounded absolutely fantastic. The negative, I would say, from Sunderland's perspective, and it's a negative, it's a bit harsh, really, but the opening half an hour of the second half, which I'm guessing Karl did, I'm guessing you watched the game, but the opening half an hour, Arsenal battered us of the second half. We could not get out of it whatsoever. We were struggling to contain passes together, and the only annoyance, really, is that first goal annoys me because it comes from a mistake. We've done so well to keep Arsenal quiet enough for the whole of the game, and then that one mistake is what completely undoes it. And to be fair though, Arsenal had a shot with Saka that went just wide. There was a shot, I think, another one from Zubi Mendy, which was one that went just wide. And then obviously at 1-1, Zubi Mendy himself hits the bar. But the first goal, like Lefay kind of dilly-dallies on with it for me too much in the middle of the park, and I get it. It's easy said and done in hindsight, but for me, you should just put it out for a throw-in, because if you're getting pressed, particularly by Declan Rice, you're not going to win that battle. You're going to come undone, and obviously it's a good little move and a nice finish from Saka, but it was just so annoying after all the effort we put in for that to happen. Obviously, then of course the second one comes in. I think when the second goal went in, I thought, yeah, that's been coming. Like, Arsenal have been knocking on the door constantly, and have absolutely deserved it. And I've seen some people criticise Noah Siddiqui for sort of like allowing a second longer for Trossard to sort of angle his shot and get it in the back of the net. But for me, and this coming from someone who rips apart Sunderland goals conceded and what we could have done and should have done better, I think you've just got to say that's a great finish.
Yeah.
Personally. Trossard's goal is an absolutely outstanding finish, and he's not even probably one of their main players when everyone's fit, but that's the quality he possesses and what he's got in his locker. But to be fair to Lebris, and one of the things I do often criticise Lebris for is the fact, and as great as he's done for us, by the way, he's done sensational since he's come in at Sunderland, but one of the things I always criticise him for is sometimes his substitutions are a bit too slow for me, and sometimes I like to see them come on a bit quicker. But when it comes to this one, he brought on Talby, he brought on Adingra, and he brought on Brobby with half an hour to go.
Yeah, so that was a huge difference. Yeah,
and that was at 1-1 at the time, I believe it was. So that was really important. And actually, when Arsenal went 2-1 up, they pretty much sat back. But I can get why, because Arsenal's defence has been rock solid of late. It's been at perfection at late. So they would probably think, you know what, then we'll be all right. We can easily sort of see this result out. But Brian probably had two big chances before the equaliser did come. The first of which, of course, wouldn't have counted with it being offside. But the ball obviously bounces across the box. Raya, I think, gets a hand to it. Then it goes out to Brobby, and it's a hard angle to get a good shot away. But he comes on the turn, fires it straight at David Raya, who makes himself big. But the bigger of the two chances, because this one wasn't offside, the ball goes into the penalty area. Reynaldo runs through, and it kind of bounces off Reynaldo, then goes towards Brian Brobby, and Raya comes out again and makes himself big. And I'm just thinking, oh, here we go. They're going to time waste. I saw Arteta doing that quite a lot, and I was shouting at the screen, well, come on then. Hurry up when you're winning.
He's done into Fergie doing that now, because that's Ferguson now. Yeah,
of course. But of course, obviously one of the Sky commentary for this goal has lived in my head rent-free all week. So obviously, for those, Hume lobs the ball into the box. Ballard, who is somehow in the opposition penalty area, casually as he always does, wins the aerial battle, wins a header. And Brobby deserves an immense amount of credit for this finish, because if you're looking at it, he's having to sort of jump while half upside down in midair, connect it with his toe in midair, while Gabriel's marking him and David Raya's coming towards him at the same time. I think Brobby does acrobatically excellently for that finish. And obviously, when that goal went in, obviously in the pub I was probably the only Sunderland fan in there, but I think there was like I said, there was no Man City fan in there. And it wouldn't surprise me if there was a Liverpool fan in there, happy if we got something. But I just kind of lightly banged the tin when, get in there, come on. So I was absolutely, obviously, I was a bit more animated than that, but for the sake of swearing, I'll keep that out of here. But I was buzzing. I was absolutely buzzing with that at the end. And although Arsenal had a half an hour spell of dominance, I think in general Sunderland did enough to deserve a point from the game. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like maybe to some extent we got out with Joe when Zubi Mendy hit the bar and they missed a few chances, but I think we more than merited the draw. I think that's the weird thing. I think we looked more than good enough to earn it. And you saw the limbs at the very end when it happened, when it went in. And actually, what I think is great from our perspective is that everyone's united, everyone's together at the moment, and and trust me, as someone who has watched so much nonsense and garbage over the last how many years, yeah, I have seen it the other way around loads of times. So for once, I'm going to enjoy it when it's I've made this joke a few times today. It was when I've been doing a lot of content recently that I've got one foot firmly on the ground to make sure we still get 40 points first, but the other one's on cloud 9 thinking we could get Europe. So it's a mixture of the two. Look, it's a long way, as Karl said before we start. Yeah, it is. It's a long way to go. This target still is 40 points first. If I was to talk about it from Arsenal's point of view, of course they'll be disappointed when they were 2-1 up with minutes left to go at the Stadium of Light. So I think what I was impressed about, but actually what I've been impressed with since, really, is Mark Chapman, who hosts Match of the Day, and I think he does it brilliantly, actually. But he hosts Match of the Day, but he was doing the coverage of the Super Sunday on Sky Sports, and he was talking to Gary O'Neill and Jamie Carragher, I think. And one of the things he said was, and I've heard a few people say this, they reckon I've seen a few pundits say that's a decent point for Arsenal.
I've heard that. Yeah, I heard about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
away at Sunderland. So in a way, I'm actually quite glad that we're starting to finally get a bit of respect from opposition fans. Going, no, Sunderland away is one of the hardest fixtures you can get. And yes, we will lose games this season.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
naive.
at least got most of it from more some Arsenal fans other than bloody Ty, who got escorted bloody out of here.
Yes, I did see that. I know it was fun. Apparently, you went top of the league, top of the league, top of the league. Mate, you support Arsenal, we support Sunderland. Who should be top of the league? Come on, that's not
Exactly.
Really much,
Yeah.
that's not really much. Like Leicester fans have had a right to say that when they were top. I don't think you do, mate.
I know. Do you know what? Ty always causes trouble, and when I saw it for, oh my god, I had a feeling that something like this would happen to him if but
He just literally sees everything just purely through red tinted glasses.
he
For Arsenal.
does. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
there are football fans.
And drinking a lot of red drink all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, everything. Yeah, I mean, a lot of fans are like that, aren't they? But either way,
Only the social media ones.
well, yeah, that is true. But to be fair, there's been even on social media, there's been a fair few Arsenal fans saying it's not the end of the world,
True.
And I suspect it's because they've been on such a winning run. And bearing in mind, by the way, I think Sunderland are the only team this season to have scored twice against Arsenal, and that's and I think Sunderland are the only ones apart from Liverpool and Man City to have took points off Arsenal. So this game for me going into it was almost pretty much, well, not almost, it was a free hit. Even with all the injuries, I thought, right, if we get anything from this, it's a good result. So I think to get a point in the end, and for people to start saying that is a good point for Arsenal, long down the line it will be, I think says a lot about how far people have actually started to think we've come now and how good we've been so far this season. And I like the fact that, what is it? Like I keep saying 40 points, 40 points, 40 points. And we're 1 point off the halfway stage to that already, and it's not even the November international break. So that's really encouraging. Obviously there will be tougher times to come. We've still got that horrendous month in December where, with the exception of on paper Leeds and maybe to an extent Newcastle, depending on their away form, like take out the fact it's a derby, but you've got Liverpool, Man City, Brighton, Man City, and then you've got Spurs just after Christmas as well. And, and even Bournemouth in the next couple of games coming up. And Bournemouth are no slouches. So they're a very, very good team. So for me, because we're getting the points now, particularly with the AFCON situation coming up. And I think some people exaggerate how much AFCON could harm us because I'm like, yes, it will impact us to a degree. Of course it will. You're going to lose a fair few players, but it's not like they're going to be gone unless they get injured, it's not like they're going to be gone for 20 games. They're going to be gone for up to 6. So, but because we've got the points we have now, it gives us the chance to almost have a bit of breathing space in December. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. But as far as the game on Saturday was concerned, no, I mean, what I was very impressed with was that we literally did keep going till the end, and we kept sticking at it. And just gave ourselves the chance to get something. And this season alone, we scored in the 90th. Okay, we were 2-0 up at the time, but scored in the 90th minute against West Ham, 90th minute winner against Brentford. We scored, obviously, the goal that put us 2-0 up against Wolves was scored in added time, the own goal. We scored a 90th plus minute winner at Chelsea and a 90th plus minute equaliser at Arsenal. Sorry, against Arsenal at home. So the one thing I'm loving now, more than anything else, is this narrative that Sunderland have only played easy teams and haven't beaten anyone easy. Funny how that's just shifted to the side and hasn't been mentioned in the last couple of weeks, because obviously Karl's not mentioned it, but I mean, like, there's been a lot of people like online that have sort of been going, "Oh, Sunderland will get hammered once they start playing anyone good." Yeah, 4 points off Chelsea and Arsenal. Just saying. And by the way, look, when we go to Liverpool and Man City in the next couple of weeks, look, I'm expecting nothing from either game. Of course I am, but the only thing that concerns me now is the fact that Xhaka and Siddiqui are on 4 yellow cards. And with a certain weird time derby coming up in about a month's time, I don't want them suspended or injured for that game. So, should we just strategically get them their 5th yellow card, get it out of the way before the Mags game, and then have them hopefully fit for that. But, we'll see. We'll see. Absolutely. But no, for us, great point.
Absolutely great point as well. Let's get through the rest of the games in the next 30 minutes or so, then we can talk about how the next further 10 minutes about the review of the Premier League itself during this during quarter of the way of the season as well. So let's move on to we'll talk about Newcastle actually, Michael. A really disappointing Sunday for them. At Brentford, losing 3-1. Igor Thiago scored 2 goals in the game. Javi Bass scored the first goal in the game, and Kevin Sade was come from him after a howler from Nick Pope, and Dan Burn, got two yellow cards and was regarded 3rd minute. Is this a worry for Newcastle's away form? And a lot of people talk about Eddie Howe as he taking his club far as he can.
I'm trying very hard not to smile here, but I think I'm failing miserably. Right.
You are feeling miserable, you know.
Yeah,
that,
I am feeling miserable. I can't deny that I am enjoying this at the minute. Considering I've watched them be that far above us for so long, I think I'm going to milk this for a bit. Look, yeah, it's not good. I mean, Newcastle's away form isn't good enough, and I think and for them, the expectation will be to be finishing top 6, top 7 again, and make a fist of the Champions League. So I think, I mean, what is that? We've lost to West Ham. They've lost to West Ham and Brentford, haven't they, in the last 2 away from home?
Back-to-back London games as well.
So, by the way, it is quite amusing that one of the things that Newcastle fans were saying to us was, "Oh, well, West Ham and Brentford are easy opponents." That age well, but well. Ignoring that though, first and foremost, credit Brentford for this because Brentford, I thought Brentford would go down at the start of the season, and having watched Brentford a few times, I mean, I didn't watch much of the game, but from what I saw on the Match of the Day highlights, and I watched them against Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, I think I underestimated Brentford. I think Brentford are really, really good. At the BTEC Community, is it BTEC Community Stadium?
BTEC. I know it's BTEC because we used to do BTEC at college, so know the name of it. Yeah.
Well, I've thought BTEC because Brentford, BTEC, but okay, but yeah, either way, look, Brentford are really good at home. It's only Man City who's gone there and picked up maximum points. So I think for Newcastle, the West Ham defeat was probably slightly more damaging than the Brentford one, I think. But it's still not good enough either way. I think, Newcastle obviously took a pretty decent goal from Harvey Barnes. It was a really, really good finish. But I think the thing is that I think at halftime they looked like they were composed enough, but the second half they just collapsed. And I think I've noticed that recently in the last couple of games when something slight goes against Newcastle, gone.
Yeah.
Oh god. I mean, try hard. All stream not to yawn, and I failed that miserably.
Listen, we all do it, so
yeah,
some people are pretty good.
No, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, when you go 1-0 up, I mean, it was both of these games, weren't they? West Ham, remember, they went 1-0 up, scored first, and then as soon as something's gone against them, they've just folded like a pack of cards. It's just not been, for their standards, it's not good enough. But you've got to credit, like I said, you do have to credit Brentford for that. Like I said, Barnes scored a good goal. The equaliser, such poor defending from Newcastle, like from a long throw in, wasn't it? So, they'll be really disappointed with that. The second goal obviously came from the penalty. I mean, Dan Burn was just getting rinsed time after time after time, wasn't he? So I think Tara's just done really well for Brentford. So I think it was only a matter of time before something ended up giving in the end. Obviously, then that goes in, and then of course the third goal, pretty much from a counter attack, I think it was, that pretty much seals it, which of course Newcastle going forward. Brentford hit them on the break, but I've got to say from Brentford's point of view, I mean, look, they're only ones at the 6 points above the bottom 3, but I think I'd be surprised if Brentford go down now. I think Brentford look like a really solid outfit at the GTEC, so I think that'll be important for them. And for Newcastle, look, I still think Newcastle will improve, and I think obviously the away form needs sorting, but I'm hoping it happens after December 14th when they go to Sunderland. But because as Karl knows, that is the fixture I am desperate to win above all other ones. But take the derby aspect out a bit. Well, I'm not going to underestimate Newcastle. Derby games are totally different. But yeah, the away form from Newcastle needs sorting out. Their home form's actually still not been too bad. I mean, I think it's 5 home games, they've won 3, and the 2 they lost were to Arsenal and Liverpool. So there's no great shame in that. I mean, they've beaten Forest at home, they've beaten Wolves at home, they've beaten Fulham at home. So there is still a really good side in Newcastle United's team, unfortunately. But there is one. It's a really good side. So I think, and obviously in the Champions League, it's the thing I think Newcastle fans won't get their head round, really. How do they look so mint in the Champions League, but in the Premier League they just look? And
it's been a recurring theme when they do it. It's happened to before, and especially when they're out not in the Champions League of Europe, they do well. But when it's in the Champions League, they manage more games, they struggle. They absolutely struggle completely, and I've noticed that pattern. And it needs to be resolved, especially especially about Eddie Howe's future. Is he taking 5? Is he gone? No one knows, but if he doesn't improve that waveform, there's going to be questions, and I just think, I think just deep down at the moment, he's got to get that waveform sorted out, either before the derby or after.
After, please.
After.
But yeah, from Newcastle fans' point of view, that waveform needs addressing, doesn't it? It's not... and I think if it doesn't get addressed, and it might have to come a point where a harsh decision is made. And to me, it would be harsh. I think Eddie Howe in general has done great for Newcastle, but it could be that maybe, what's he been there 4 years now? So it could be that sometimes a fresh voice is what's needed. So you don't know whether he's in charge by the time the derby comes around or not. I don't know. But if you would sack him, now would be the time to do it then, because you've got a little bit of time to sort an international break to get somebody in through the door. But yes, like I said, it's a weird one because at home in the Prem, I would fancy Newcastle against pretty much. I would give Newcastle a good chance against pretty much anybody in the league, and that includes the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool and Man City. Funny, they play Man City next weekend, I think, next Saturday at St James's. So that'll be fascinating. But the away form just got to sort itself out as long as they lose on December the 14th, and they can sort it out as much as they want. But yeah, joking aside, yeah, I mean, not taking anything away from Brentford, but it's a really poor 8 days for Newcastle.
Yeah, absolutely it is as well. Let's go to one of the teams that's really been struggling at the bottom, and we'll talk about Wolves. They lost to Chelsea 3-0 through Mario Gusto's first senior goal, and João Pedro is back in his scoring form. And Pedro Neto scored the final goal for Chelsea. But the big news is Rob Edwards is now the new Wolves manager on a 3.5-year deal. What's your point of view on that one? Is this for him? You know, the way do you not like the way he's left Middlesbrough? And also, the second question is this more of a long term project, especially if Wolves do go down, because it's 2 points from safety. No one's done stayed up with 2 points on the board ever in the Premier League.
I was going to say, I bet they wish there were only 2 points from safety, but I know what you mean. 2 points on the board. Is it a 3.5-year contract he's got?
Yeah,
strikes to me as. It's strange, really, because from I get now why Rob Edwards probably did make the move because of the family aspect. I think he's got family who lives in the area. He's got a connection.
Telford, so not too far. Yeah,
he's got connections to the club as a former player, so I understand it there. Yeah, well, exactly. My gut says it's a mistake him leaving Borough to go to Wolves, because I think Borough and again, it's even just the mood around the clubs. There's a lot of toxicity around Wolves, and probably to some extent rightfully so. Well, no, not sorry, no, to some extent, definitely, at least, if not completely rightly so, because of what's happened. Victor Pereira had to go. He was one who was just like arguing with people constantly. He was arguing with the fans. He was, he was antagonising them at points, and they just weren't looking like they were getting any better.
So, no, and for what I heard, he did not want to sign any domestic players in the transfer. When I looked at, there was a story in the Athletic not too long ago after he got the sack. He did not want to sign any domestic players. He signed just players from Europe, and that's it. He did not sign any players that was based in the Premier League, which was very baffling.
Wow. Well, that's no surprise then. But yeah, I wonder, with Rob Edwards being appointed, does that mean Wolves have got one eye on the Championship next season?
It sounds like it does.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to write off the possibility that Wolves could improve and could do something. We don't know that, but I get the impression that it's going to be a big ask for Wolves to stay up now, I think it's going to be a massive ask. But I do think if they stick with Edwards, if they did go down, they stick with Edwards, I don't think there's many managers that could be better for them to get them back up. But is that what Wolves fans want? Do they not want to? But this is the problem. When Wolves are down where they are, it's harder and harder to attract someone who you would view as, well, an acceptable standard for the Premier League. And I don't think Rob Edwards did bad for Luton in the Premier League, to make that clear. But there's a difference between managing Luton and managing Wolves, because Wolves are a much bigger club than Luton. So I'm fascinated to see how that goes. I do feel a little bit for Borough. I think Borough, because obviously not to make it too much about the Championship here now, but I think when you look at Borough, they could have a right to be aggrieved here, because Rob Edwards gave at the beginning in the summer about how it was honoured to be there. You have to be together as a family and stuff like that, pretty much. And then, of course, once Wolves comes in, he jumps ship. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm tired. I've had a long day. But, yes.
We know everyone has a long day, so exactly. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But, yeah, when it comes to Rob Edwards, I can see why Borough feel a bit aggrieved. But from Wolves' point of view, I don't think it's a bad appointment necessarily if you're looking at the Championship. But if you're looking at the Premier League, you would have hoped they would have got someone a bit better for their sake. But when you're down 2 points at the bottom, 2 points off, 2 points in the bottom of the league, and you're 8 points off safety, then it does become an ask, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does become a user ask, and it's a bit of a concern, especially what's going on, not just club, but behind it with the ownership and the fans. It's a question.
Well, exactly. But I think also we've got to mention Chelsea, that it obviously was important for them to just sort of get themselves.
Especially they've been criticised, of the rotation, but the rotation does kind of work for them, especially of the season they're going to have.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, they've beaten Wolves twice in like 10 or 11 days, wasn't it? Because they played them in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to... Yeah, I think obviously Chelsea will have tougher games than that, but you go with it, don't you? It's a 3-0 win. You're not going to complain about it.
No, you can't complain about it at all. Let's move on to one of the teams that were right in the bottom three. Got another their first back-to-back wins for quite a while as West Ham beating Burnley 3-2. Michael, I thought Wolves were going to come in, and I know there was a fan protest. Some of the fans are boycotting.
You mean West Ham?
West Ham, sorry.
Yeah.
West Ham, fans voted against no confidence against the board before the game, and some of the fans boycotted. But they got the win. They got back to another win again. 2 wins in a row. And is there signs of life coming now for Nuno and the Hammers?
Possibly. I mean, you certainly can't argue the fact they've beaten Newcastle because they're a very good team. So much as unfortunately for me, but they are a good team, and I think for West Ham that was massive. I think but this game in many ways was probably bigger because it's a 6-pointer. It's a six. You look before the game. I think if you said to West Ham fans, you've got to be beating Burnley at home if you're wanting to end up avoiding relegation or have a chance of it. Obviously, Matías Fernandes was really good in this game. And obviously Freddie Potts has come into the midfield, which suddenly now that Nuno started to tinker around with the formation a bit, you go in. This is because I think West Ham's squad has always had the ability to be better than it is showing. And I think now we're starting to see it a little bit. Long way to go again, but I think if it's like with West Ham, if you're down there, win the 6-pointers. You get good results in the 6-pointers, and then you can really progress and go from there. So. Yeah, I think because we're a sign of things to click on and know. Well, for their sake, for their West Ham fans' sake, I hope so. Obviously, it doesn't change. It doesn't change the situation off the pitch. There's still a lot that needs to change in that regard. But when it comes to Nuno, I think that you can get confidence going and you can get back-to-back wins at home, especially when the London Stadium's not been a very happy hunting ground for West Ham recently. No. I think it was massive to get a win here. I think for Burnley as well. It is disappointing, and obviously they were helped by beating Leeds and Wolves back-to-back. But I do think with Burnley, they need to be getting results in games like West Ham away, which would be considered a 6-pointer.
Yeah, they always had a decent record, Burnley, at West Ham, and until this past weekend, unfortunately. So, yeah, disappointing weekend for the Clarets as well. Moving on one of the other games. Talk about Fulham losing 2-0 at Everton. Goals from Gizagier and Michael Keane for Everton. Everton should have had more goals, despite there was multiple goals offside, about 2-3 goals offside. But that was a good win for them. And also, are you worried about Fulham now because Michael Silva is going into his last year of his contract? There's been questions that he might leave the club at some point in the end of the summer if that contract was renewed, despite they've had a very poor transfer window this past summer.
Well, they weren't active until the very end of the window, were they, Fulham? So I think that was quite... I think for Everton, first and foremost, to answer your first question, I think it is a big win for them. I think they're built off the back of a point at Sunderland, so I think that's obviously quite encouraging for Everton. And obviously, they've lost their previous 2 or 3 games before that in the Premier League, so it was good for them to bounce back and get a win at the Hill Dickinson. So I think, and for what I see, Everton did deserve it. Like Everton were the ones knocking on the door, having the chances, and Fulham were quite passive. From what I did see of the game on the highlights, I thought they just looked very toothless. Am I worried for Fulham? Well, funny enough, me and Matt SB have done a video about this, so go and check it out. But we're looking at a video on the relegation battle when it's there, and we did kind of mention that although I would back Fulham to have more than the teams that I would imagine to be in the bottom 3 at the end of the season, I do think Fulham, you need to look at them and start going, we need to see a bit more from you here.
Especially the top goal scorers are 3 own goals. So there's a lot of goals coming from their own from Fulham's players this season.
Well, I was also going to say I think their wins have been. I think there's Brentford at home, Wolves at home, and and Leeds at home. Obviously,
Leeds at home. Yeah.
So yeah, they're obviously beating the game, winning games they need to be winning. But I mean, obviously Sunderland go to Fulham next after the international break. So hopefully after that game they can start to fix things a bit. But yeah, I think the Marco Silva situation rumbling on isn't helping, is it? When he's going to the last 6 months effectively of his contract, we need to start. You need to start seeing a resolution to that one way or another.
Yeah, you certainly do it. It needs a resolution at that as well too. Let's go to the Saturday lunchtime game between Spurs and Manchester United. The game did come alive within the last 10 minutes or so, Michael, when Man United took the lead in the 32 minute from Brighton Bremo, and then Mateus Tell Richarlison scored in the last 6 minutes of the game, but the game before Madillet scored a header in the 96th minute. Surprised by the result because I thought Man United looked like they were going to look like they were more in for the game, Man United, than Spurs did.
Yeah, it's weird because this was 1-0 until like the 84th minute, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden everyone decided, oh, we can actually score goals. Let's go for it in the last 10 minutes. So Man United going to be happy with a point? Yes and no, because obviously at the time when they were losing, if you offered them a point then they would have taken it, but they were leading for most of the game. So it's a very strange one. I can't put my finger on if it's a good point. I suppose it's an okay point for both teams. It's not like a disastrous result for either by any means, but I think. But then you look at Tottenham. They'd have offered? They would have took a point say on 83 minutes, but then of course they're 2-1 up within the 96th minute. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put a finger on it really, but I would say that for both to have got something out of it was important. And Almiron's starting to build a little unbeaten run, going. So we'll see how long that lasts and how sustainable it is. But as for Tottenham, I still rate Thomas Frank. I think Thomas Frank's a really good head coach, and I still think he'll end up thriving at both of them. So I would say that would both be disappointed with a point, yes and no, but for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Yeah, for different reasons, especially if Spurs' home form's not being good at the moment.
No, is it since Burnley on the opening day they haven't won at the London won at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
Yeah,
that's very well. Certainly in the Premier League, anyway. That's really poor.
It's really poor. It really is as well. We've got at least about 3 games to go. So let's talk about Aston Villa winning 4-0 against Bournemouth, Michael. Emin Buendia, what a free kick. And in the 20th minute, and then Onana, Barkley, and Dorian Marlin scored as well in the goal scorers as well. Disappointing result for Bournemouth. They've only won once in the last 6 away games, but a good save from Emi Martinez from Semendo's penalty as well.
Yeah, well, obviously that penalty is a changing point. I think it was a 2-0 at that point.
Yeah.
Yes, and also, that's a game changer, isn't it? Because that goes in, different story, but nevertheless it didn't. And I think Bournemouth are very, very good, but I would never expect Villa to. I'm not shocked Villa beat them because Villa at home at Villa Park, especially, should be a really good threat. But 4-0 though, like Jesus, fair play to Villa for getting that. And obviously Buendia, what a free kick it is. Obviously couldn't have hit it much better. So I think, all in all, I think with Aston Villa, I think, like I said before, I think they're starting to really turn the corner now, and I think obviously lost to Liverpool recently at Anfield, but I think that's no shameful result, even with how Liverpool have been this season. So I think with Aston Villa, it was just important to just bounce back with getting 3 points, and I think Bournemouth will view it the same way after the international break. That Areola will be very, very disappointed with how the game ended up panning out, but Bournemouth have still had a really good season, and Villa, I think Villa are finally starting to find their mojo again. Which at the time they played Sunderland, for example, when Sunderland went down to 10 men and Villa couldn't beat us, then you could tell, Christ, this confidence of this team just does not look there. But since that game, funny enough, apart from Liverpool away, they've won every fixture, I think. So,
absolutely.
It's good to show that the confidence is starting to return, and how Unai Emery, of course, is sort of getting the plaudits for it now.
Yeah, he is, and especially Villa getting their 4th consecutive home league win as well, so huge for that. The other game was the derby between Crystal Palace and Brighton. It was a 0-0. Matt Gray missed the game through injury, but like I said, Brighton was given a penalty, Michael, but it was overturned due to Jorginho Rutter dive. Was it surprising this was a point apiece for both of these teams, especially they've had a good decent start to the season?
No, I don't say it's totally surprising. I think both are very solid sides, very solid, capable top half sides. But if you actually look at the stat, I think it was at Selhurst Park since 2019. I think March 2019, Brighton won. Last season, Crystal Palace won, but the rest of it's been draw. So when you actually look at that on paper, it's not when I looked at that, it shouldn't be a surprise that this game did end a draw. But I think as well, it's a solid enough point for Brighton. I think it's only them and Sunderland that have stopped Palace scoring at Selhurst Park in the Premier League. Palace, of course, the draw keeps Brighton below them in the division for the derby that isn't a derby, that may be a derby between the two of them. So I think overall, although 0-0, obviously it's a goal to stalemate, it's not a bad point for either side, I think.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Right, Mike, I'll let you take the last game, and I think I know you're going to ask me some questions, so I'm ready and willing.
Are you
So
trying to avoid talking about it as much as possible?
yeah, but I know I've got to talk about it. So
Right, okay then. So obviously Forest 3, Leeds 1. Now this game for me, and I said this to Karl, I think last week, they said that after Leeds lost to Brighton, and it was that Leeds had to get something for me from this game against Forest. I'll start with Leeds' goal. I thought it was a really good bit of movement actually. It was a good bit of pressing, good bit of passage of play, and the ball finds Lucas Nemecha. Really deadly finish actually, to be fair. Really, really good finish. The problem Leeds had from there is that they conceded within a couple of minutes. I think that's the thing you need to be. That's the thing you need to be able to do, which is grind it out, grind it out, grind it out. Keep it at 1-0 for a long time, because the longer you keep it at 1-0, the more restless the Forest crowd gets. The more they get on the team's back potentially. The more that potentially suits you lot. But obviously, the first goal comes in. Perry kind of spills it, and then is it Sigmane? Ends up tapping it, but not quite into an empty net, but basically has a free shot at goal. In the second half, of course, what I think Sean Dyche has got to give credit for is the substitute impact of Amari Hutchinson. Comes on, yeah, unfortunately for Karl, of course. Obviously, Hutchinson gets down the left, gets down the Forest's right-hand side, puts a delicious peach of a cross in, and Gibbs White. And I will say, this defending annoys the hell out of me if I was a Leeds fan, because Morgan Gibbs White is completely untracked and unmarked in the 6-yard box. He isn't picked up. He lets it. He gets ahead of, I think it's Joe Rodon or Pascal Scroig.
it was Joe Rodon, yeah.
Lets Gibbs White peel away from him to give himself that extra couple of yards of space, and angles the shot past Lucas Perry. And then, of course, the third one, Jack Harrison. I mean,
Put him in the
yeah, I saw that. What is Daniel Farker thinking doing that?
Yeah, just let me. I'm going to answer some of your questions. So, first of all, this is. I said if Sean Dyche came, when I said to you a couple of weeks ago, if Andrew was still in his job at Forest, this would have been a win for Leeds, hands down.
Yeah,
but because Sean Dyche is now in, I had a feeling it was gonna go the other way around, and I just felt like, when we scored the first goal from Lucas Nemecha in the 30th minute, and then 2 minutes later, Sangare scored after when Lucas Perry parried it in front of him. He should have kept that hold of that in, and then it's a question of the substitutions of where Farker leaves it so late. When Leeds go a goal down, he leaves the substitute so late, and it doesn't make an impact. And that's what Dyche has got that experience. And the question is, when you put Jack Harrison in the back four, what was the plan of that? You're gonna. And I knew that
something happened. Basically,
Yeah, there's questions going on at Leeds now. There's been questions. It's when will Fat go, if not when, because we got a run of difficult games coming up now in the next couple of weeks. We got Villa at home after the international break, and then we're away to Man City. Then we're home to Chelsea, home to Liverpool, and then we'll wait after that to Brentford. I don't know whether we'll get the points on that one now. I have a worry that Farkas' time is probably going to be sooner than later. It will be done, but it's a question of who replaces him, and that's something that that I think the board needs to look at. But yes, we are above the relegation zone, but in a way, you've got a question. Was Farkas hard done by not getting a winger like Harry Wilson on the last day of the transfer window in the summer? So there's a lot of questions going there. It's a question I think our defensively we've not been good enough for the last couple of games. Especially, we should have kept a clean sheet against West Ham, and that clean sheet against West Ham, we were 2-0 up, because we should have scored more against West Ham. But this is now it's catching up now of that the result what happened at Burnley. It's catching up. It's the reaction when we go down. That's where we have struggled, and I think Farker, should have gone. The people say he should have gone after we won the championship. He should have gone. There was all these questions. I was sitting on the fence. Yes, I do want to go, but who we're going to replace him with? And now I'm still on that fence. But there's now questions: how long he's going to be there? Can he make it to January? I said if it makes it by October, it wouldn't be surprised. But if it makes it beyond January, that will be surprised if results don't go our way. So it's creeping in quite slowly now with this, and I just don't know. If the 49ers the 49ers need to make a decision sooner than later, because, a result, playing at home against Chelsea and Liverpool, because we don't know, like Doug said in his video, Liverpool need 15 points maximum, and they want to get points against us at home. So it's I don't know, Michael. It's a question: can we get wins in this next 5 games? It's going to be bloody hard.
The thing for you guys was you needed to get a result at Burnley and Forest. I think if you even that's 2 draws, you know what I mean? Like it stops them both getting an extra 2 points, and you gain an extra 2 points on collectively. I think this is why I said at the start of the season I tipped Leeds to go down.
Yeah.
Because I felt like nothing against Farke, because Farke
No, of course not.
you know,
No.
Farke is a very competent championship manager, very competent championship head coach, but because in that league, Leeds will undoubtedly have the best players and will be able to get away with it because the quality will end up.
Yeah.
Well, they carry on a promotion because that's not really entirely fair. But I've just felt like in the Premier League, putting stuff like, Harry Wilson on when Willie Nonto's on the bench, that for me is very questionable. And this is where I've said, for me, if Leeds stick with Farke the whole year, I think they get relegated because I just don't think Farke is adaptable enough. I don't think he's proactive enough.
No, he's not proactive enough.
I was going to say he's not reactive enough, but he's very reactive. He just doesn't do anything. And I think, when you, like I said, I just don't get the thinking of playing Jack Harrison over Nonto. And I think if you're found wanting tactically in the Premier League, you will get found out. One of the reasons that Sunderland is doing so well, for example, under Regis Lebris, is because Lebris, whatever my criticisms about him sometimes, is tactically quite astute and quite aware. And I think it says a lot that even when Scott Parker, for example, at Burnley, who hasn't had a great Premier League record, Scott Parker's got the better of Daniel Farke the last 3 times Burnley have played Leeds. So that's what I mean. But the caveat of that is, I think Farke will go. I think Farke will get sacked before the end of the year, as in calendar year.
Yeah.
It's just a question of if you're still in touch by January, then, you've got the January window. You could have a new manager bounce. There's no reason why you can't still make a good fist of staying up. It just depends. But so for me, long story short, I think if Farke stays the whole year, I think Leeds go down in the Championship. If he goes, then for me, it completely depends on who they bring in.
It's a critical who brings in. It's hard one. You got managers like Gary O'Neill who didn't go back to Wolves. Is he the right man for that club? And there's so much questions needs to be questioned. I don't know. It's something that.
What do you think about the relegation picture at the minute?
I think at the moment, I did say that's why I always said 17th was my maximum expectation. I did say 17th because I did say I'm not. I'd rather we're just we're not like what it was with Bielsa. This is different now. We're a bit more realistic and pessimistic. So we have to be like, right, we know with the squad that we have to get the points at home and try to get the points against the bottom teams away from home. And we've only done that at Wolves. We've not done that at, against Burnley or Nottingham Forest, which is very disappointing. So there's a huge concerns with that one. I just don't. Yeah, the points is just it's tough at the moment, and I think the board need to realise everything, and they need to think carefully before it gets worse towards the festive period, because that's when the critical games are going to be, where we play against you guys after Boxing, after Christmas, and then we got Liverpool New Year's Days again at Anfield. So it's a lot.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because I think if you're going to stay up, and there's no reason why. I mean, Leeds are still averaging a point a game, of course they are, but I do wonder if that's clouding the 49ers' perception a little bit, because they think they need to ask themselves, do they genuinely think that Farke is going to keep them up?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, then in January, within PSR as much as they can, they need to back him. They need to back him then to the hilt and give him that. But if you're not convinced of it, then now is the time that Leeds need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Because even with the fixtures coming up, Leeds are still above the bottom 3 at the moment, and I think apparently the other teams around you have difficult fixtures as well.
Yeah.
So it feels weird saying that, not including us, because I still think it's going to be still a long season, of course. But I think with Leeds, if you can keep, and that's the thing. I think for me, if you keep yourselves in touch and distance by January and go for it in January, then there is a chance there, because some teams around you, like Fulham and West Ham and Forest and Burton and Wolves so far, haven't been as great. But the thing for me is, will Forest get a kick from winning that game? The same with West Ham, because those were 2 fixtures contesting of 4 of the bottom 6 against each other. So yeah, and that's the problem for me. It was like when you lost away at Burnley and you lost away at Forest. Even if you just drew both of those games, it's a massive difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we've got to say for Forest, unfortunately for you, obviously, but for Forest, that was a game that they had to win. And I think if they had any of the promoted sides at home, but Dyche's, I think was that Dyche's second home league game?
Second home league, yeah.
Yeah, so 4 points in a week in the Prem for Forest. Obviously, 2-2 draw against Man United. And only denied because of a fantastic Amad Diallo goal. And then obviously the 3-1 win against Leeds. So I think Forest will be fine. I'll be very surprised, especially if Forest with Dyche will be relegated at the end of the season, even if they have the fixture congestion in Europe. Like I say, you got Elliot Anderson, Gibbs White, Chris Wood, and Doy. There's so many. Hudson Odoi as well. They've got such quality, attacking quality, that I just think Dyche will get enough of a tune out of them to keep them up.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Relegation battle as well. Let's look at the table in the Premier League as well. So Arsenal points are now above Man City, have now cut down to 4. Chelsea now move up to 3rd after Sunderland getting the draw. Tottenham and Aston Villa in the top 6. Man United go above Liverpool with level on points. At the bottom of the table, Wolves are still 8 points away from safety, while Nottingham Forest get their first win on the Sean Dice, and West Ham getting their back-to-back wins and now close the gap between themselves and with themselves and Leeds and Fulham, while Newcastle dropped down to 14th place after Everton getting the win, and Brentford moving up to 12th place as well. Michael, as we are here as well, since we're here, let's discuss about actually it's getting to quarter of a season now, as it's coming up to the 12th game after international break. Expectations, are you surprised about some of the teams' good start, like Bournemouth and Crystal Palace, and especially yourselves as well, at this quarter of a season?
Yeah, we're past a quarter of it now, aren't we? We're pretty much like 2 games off a third of the season, which is mental. It's gone really quickly. Am I surprised? I think if I'm looking at the teams that surprised me the most, I would say the teams that surprised me are probably Forest have surprised me in a negative way, but I think with Dyche that'll improve. I think Newcastle so far have probably unimpressed me in many ways. I expect, put it this way, with Sunderland 4th and Newcastle 14th, okay, it's 7 points, that could change. But if you said to me at the start of the season, one of Newcastle or Sunderland, one will be 14th, one will be 4th by the November international break, you would think it would be the other way around, wouldn't you? So I think Newcastle in a negative way, Forest in a negative way have sort of surprised me. Liverpool, I'd say Liverpool for the standard that they should be at, I think have surprised me in a negative way. But then I'm looking at, Palace top half, not entirely surprising given they're the FA Cup holders. Brighton, maybe give or take a couple of places around about where I expect them to be. But I would say the team that probably has surprised teams and people most is us. I think Sunderland is the one that has, and definitely surprised me. Although I did say Sunderland would stay up I still tipped us to be bottom 4. But, if you said to me that we would be here where we are after 11 games, I'd be concerned about your legal status with the amount of crack cocaine you've inhaled. Because I would not have believed that would have happened. But so I think, and if anything, but just to quickly, not to make it too much about Sunderland, but one of the things I like that we've done is that we seem to have given future promoted teams a bit more hope, as in how if you operate well enough in the Premier League, you have to get it bang on, but if you can do it, if you do it right. So yeah, I'd say I don't know if you agree with me. I would say if you ask your own question, I think are Sunderland the surprise package? Because I think we are.
Yeah. So, I would say that you have been
the biggest surprise package, I should say. There is a
you have been one of my surprise packages alongside, especially with Bournemouth, losing most of the back 4 as well. They're being good this season as well, And I think what one team has surprised me most is a bit of a resurgence for Manchester United after Ruben Amorim was under intense scrutiny, and then getting that win at Anfield.
That was massive.
That has become the turning point. So I think that's what surprised me as well with Man United. Has been the surprising turning point. I hate to say this as my bloody rivals. Yeah, they have become the turning point with the surprise package one of the surprise package, because I thought that they would have struggled a little bit. Not still in the mid-table, not like relegation, but in the mid-table. But the run of form they've been on, it's been instrumental completely. So, and I think Villa, with their slow start as well, they've slowly turned the corner as well. So, yeah, I think they've been one of the surprise packages. And like I said, it's still got what now we're getting under 30 games to go. So it's
Well, I'll ask you this, right, if you don't mind. Who do you think's been your surprise package in the opposite sense? Who's disappointed you the most?
Probably Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I'd say them on Newcastle.
Yeah, I say that more than Newcastle at the moment with that. Not for us. I expect to, because of the signings they made, and I think Nuno did utilize most of them, and the same did Ange as well. But I think with the signings when you make with Omari Hutchinson not being in the Europa League squad was baffling, and so forth. And especially now with Sonjaz coming in, I think he's rectified. To get that, to get the 4 points in his first at home now. At home, it's been battle for. So I think we'll see. I said we're going to see a bit of a resurgence from them. Especially Marinakas. Everyone hates him and loves him, but he has to make when he makes his decisions. He's proactive when he knows that something has to change, and he brings someone like Sean Dyche who knows the club inside out. Yeah, you're like it's going to be dividends paid off, and that's what some clubs could do, especially like Leeds, for example, if they don't be proactive.
You mean sort of like be like maybe blunt but harsh, but still like be really quick and proactive because obviously it could have been easy for Forest to stick with Postecoglou, but of course they've recognised it isn't working. And how to change it. And I think that what's helped them is the fact that Dyche's stereotypical brand of football is closer to what brought success with Nuno. So I wouldn't be surprised based on that if Dyche did bring them a bit more success with that regard. But I think like I said, I think it's been a pretty well, obviously from my own point of view, it's been a great Premier League season so far. Less so probably for yourself, obviously, but I think it's going to be. I think we revisit in January. And sort of see going into January where each team is and to sort of see how things will pan out, particularly with the window if they can sign game changers.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Yeah, we'll see that. Like I said, I would not take Brendan Rodgers at Ellen Road. He's got to deal with that own shit with what's happened at Celtic if he's going to take legal action against Dermot Desmond. So I don't want nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I'm convinced at this point. I'm not sure Rodgers is an upgrade on Farke.
No, he's not.
A couple of years ago he might have been, but not now.
Not now. No, not now anyway. Not now. So I'll leave it at that. Michael, thank you very much as well for joining me. And also thanks to Doug. I know he was able to join us. But
thanks for swapping roles with me.
yeah, absolutely. We should see Doug back after the international break and as well. So with myself, I won't be on doing any content this weekend with the Saturday show. I told Reese and Stefan, we're taking time off for the international break. Let's dry ourselves, and especially everything's getting up to Christmas now. So as we're in November, so I just want them to enjoy some peace and quiet, even myself as well. And like I said, Michael and I will be back on with Annie on the championship review after the international break next weekend as well. So we'll discuss all the stuff, including if there's going to be new managers at Norwich sooner, then we should get in the first thing in there. And also at Middlesbrough as well, too, who will take over. And Southampton as well, yeah. So we'll discuss the managers' first games, who's going to be the new manager for those three teams completely. So we'll wait and see now. But the Saturday show should be back on next weekend. So, and like I said, the 20 will be back on after the international break as well. So, like I said, please hit that subscribe button on my channel at the Total Leave at Home Football Podcast, and also on Doug's channel at the Doug Up Football Channel, and also hit Michael's channel. Hit the subscribe button for Michael's channel at Michael Bowers as well. He will voice on the content as well too.
Thank you ever so much, and thanks very much for having me again. Been a really good hour chatting football.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for everyone. We'll see you guys soon at the same time after the international break.